speak Welsh today, so the meeting will be conducted in English only. Please can members use the raised hand icon to indicate when they want to speak, and remember to keep your microphones muted when you're talking. Moving on to the agenda. Agenda item 1. Dominic, do you have any apologies at all?
I haven't received any apologies, no.
Thank you for that. Item number 2. Members, have you any interest to declare at all? No, none at all. Thank you. Members, could you possibly state whether you have anything to raise in relation to the minutes? If not, we'll take the minutes as approved from the last meeting. Colette?
Mike. Sorry, Chair, just to say approved.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Can I just find out a typo, please, Chair? On 4.4, there's an S missing from your business.
That's noted, Rose. Thank you. Agenda item 4 then, the action sheet. Members, the updates on what has been done and implemented by the committee's previous decisions are on page 9 of the agenda. Could you possibly indicate whether you have any questions or comments at all on that? No.
No.
Members, do you agree to update the actions?
Yeah.
All agree?
Yeah.
They noted then.
Yeah. Sorry, Chair, I can't put my camera on to raise my hand, so I'm...
Okay, Rose, thank you. On to agenda number 5 then, petition scheme. Nancy Salkeld, Head of Democratic Services, could you present the report for us, please?
Thank you, yes, good morning. We've always had a petition scheme in Torfaen, but the Local Government Act, Section 42 of the new Local Government and Elections Act, requires that we make and publish a petition scheme on our website, and that we can review the scheme from time to time. So this requirement has come into force after May, after the elections in May. So this is our first opportunity to bring the petition scheme which we've drafted to you for your comments, any suggested changes or additions before it goes on to Council for formal approval and adding into the Constitution. The scheme is being drafted. It will be available on our website for members of the public to look at, to give them an explanation of how to submit a petition if they want to, and the help and support we can give them with that. One of the major changes is that we will have e-petitions as well, which means that people can log on and set up a petition online, which will run for the period of time they set it for, say 4 weeks, 2 weeks, and at the end of that time it will be submitted, automatically come through to us at Democratic Services for presentation at the next council meeting, next available council meeting. They almost go to immediately the next meeting, but if, say, it was an AGM or something, it would get held over to the following meeting. So we've drafted the scheme, and I hope you've all had a chance to have a look at it. I'll just briefly run through it with you now. There's a couple of things to point out. We want the petitions, especially the ones online. There's some criteria for them that people who sign the petitions, they need to either work, live or use the services of Torfaen. This will help us when sometimes we have massive petitions and we have things like people put Mickey Mouse, for example. So we want it to be relevant to the people in Torfaen. So we want just to hear from Torfaen residents, or if they receive services via Torfaen, or if they're educated in Torfaen. They have to give their address and postcode when they submit up their name to an online petition, but that information isn't in the public domain. We can see it at our end internally, but that isn't published online. So people don't have to be concerned that their details are going to be shared or available to other people. So that's one of the safeguards that we've put in. The procedure, the protocol for petitions is really to help members of the public give them clear guidance on how to submit a petition. They can still submit a petition in the traditional way of bringing a paper copy and attending council to present it, or their ward councillor can present it on their behalf. If they would rather not come to a meeting and present it, then their ward councillor can do it on their behalf, and that happens now in any event. Or it can be done completely online. So point 2 is what should the petition include. So it's giving guidance, a clear, concise statement covering the subject, and in Democratic Citizens, we'll be available to help if anyone wants help drafting a petition. They can contact us and we will help them. At point 3, we've got any petitions that we won't accept. And there where a petition has come on the same topic within 12 months. Any employee matters. So if a member of staff had an issue, then it needs to be dealt with not in the public domain of a petition, but via HR. In the period leading up to an election or a referendum, obviously we have what we call PERDA, so we couldn't do a petition at that time. Petitions won't be accepted excuse me, if they're considered to be vexatious, abusive, defamatory, or if they disclose any confidential information. And we'll explain our reasons in writing to the petitioner why we haven't accepted a petition. If the petition is about something we've got no direct control over, we'll consider making representation on behalf of the community to the relevant body. If the petition is a different council area, we can forward it on to them. So that people know what we're doing in response to their petition, we will get back to them and let them know. If for any reason we can't accept the petition, we will get back and tell them why, or maybe help to redraft it with them so that it's more it is acceptable if they haven't drafted it properly. E-petitioners, if you're going to set up an e-petition, you have to register. And in a minute, Chris will do a demonstration and show you what a member of the public will see either when they log onto the website, either if they want to start a petition or just add their name to a petition that someone has already started. So Chris is going to give us a little demonstration of what you will see if you wanted to do that, so you know what it looks like. In Torfaen, we haven't given numbers for petitions. Some local councils, some other councils will say that they won't take a petition to council until they've got, say, over 500 signatures, or and then they've got different criteria. We haven't set any criteria like that at the moment in Torfaen, because it could be residents, maybe just 10 residents of one street who have got an issue, and only all 10 of them sign. It's still a valid point as far as we're concerned. They've still got a right to have their concerns listened to. So we haven't set any numbers. If going forward we find that we have hundreds of petitions, then we may have to review that, but we don't want to inhibit people contacting us and raising petitions if they want to. So we haven't set any numbers on ours that we will accept any petitions that come in, whether it's very few signatories or a large amount. As I say, that we can review that, because we have to see how it goes, really, because we've never had an e-petition before and we've never published a petition scheme, so we don't know what the take-up will be, but we want to try and make it accessible for all our residents to be able to contact us and help inform our decision-making. It's important that we hear from the residents, things that are important to them. And as a wider participation strategy, which is being developed within Torfaen, this is one way of encouraging members of the public to be involved and have their say. So we want to try and be as open and transparent as we can with the scheme, but with the proviso that we don't want to be absolutely overwhelmed if we have hundreds. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's just to say that we will review it if we need to as it goes on. Point 6 is what you can do if you feel a petition hasn't been dealt with properly. So we've put that information in there where people can come in their first instance to the monitoring officer if they've submitted a petition that we haven't accepted, or they think it hasn't been up long enough, or they're not happy with the response. They can then go to the monitoring officer. So we hope that we've covered everything in the scheme. The last 2 pages, Appendix 1, is a petition template. This is to help people when they are setting a petition, to show them the relevant information that they need to submit. So this is the contact details of the lead petitioner. It would be their name, their address for correspondence, telephone number, email address. And then the next one says live, work or service user in Torfaen. So we just want them to confirm which of those, or if it might be all 3, that they can just indicate all that apply, and then they sign it electronically if they're doing it, online. The subject of their petition, what they're petitioning the council to do, whether to change something, introduce something, whatever the issue is, and then the list for the names and addresses of the people who sign. So I think that pretty much covers the scheme and what we're hoping to do. Shall I ask Chris to do the demonstration first and then see if any questions or comments? I think that's probably best. So, do you want to do that now, Chris?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. I'll just share my screen a second. Okay, here we go. Here's the, so when a member of the public goes onto the council website, there'll be an e-petition section on there where they simply click into, and in order to put in their e-petition, they would need to register first, as Nancy said. So when they click to register, they'll be given this simple form. We'll just ask for their first name, last name, email address, a password, and a home address. As Nancy said, they need to live, reside or work or what have you in Torfaen. So once they register, then that will then send them an email for them to confirm. So once they've done that, then they can then request an e-petition. So then it'll send them then through to this form, which they'll need to fill in online, obviously. We've got the e-petition title, and then basically there's a form here where they'll need to fill in asking what they want the council to do. And then they can give some more detail here about their e-petition after. If they're representing an organisation, they can fill the other fields in as well. They're not mandatory. They can put in a start date, which is usually, they'll probably want that to go straight away, and then they can alter an end date. So if they wanted it, say within a month, they could change the end date there. We've got a default on the system that will automatically take that date forward 42 days. But like I said, they can change it. They can change the offers there, whether they agree, whether they're asking the council to agree it or disagree. And again, that field there it will be different. And these are some admin options that we've got our side. The petitioner won't see that. And here's a field as well that'll pop up on our side of the system that we can fill in and send them the response. So once they've sent through the petition, it'll then email them to confirm. If for example their petition clashes or looks the same as one that's been submitted before, it'll pick up their petition title and ask them, do they still want to proceed? Because there's already something on the system that's similar. So once that's done, then the petition will come onto our system, and then we can review that, and we've got some options on the admin side of the system that we can look at before the petition goes live. So if there's anything inappropriate within the statement or justification or anything they put on their petition, we can edit that and send it back to make sure that they're happy with it. We can just reject it outright if it, for example, is a duplication. We can send emails to the originator or signatories if we wanted to update them on something. We can administer the e-petition signatures if something's come through and it does say Mickey Mouse, for example. So we can just take those out. And we've got some, we can update the status on it. So we can change that from requested to a review, for example, just to let the petitioner know what we're doing. And once we mark that as complete, then the link will go live and it'll send that onto the e-petitioner, so then they can share that on social media or do whatever they want. So I think that's pretty much it from me. If there are any questions.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Nancy. Members, do you have any questions on this one? Rose?
I just wondered whether or not we could utilise this as a council for consultation, whether we could reverse the process rather than people contacting us as well. We could contact our residents out there for any particular issue that we needed consultation on.
Thank you, Rose.
I think this petition scheme has to be as it is. That's certainly something I could speak to the comms team about, because I know they do hold regular consultations. I don't think they could do them via this actual petition scheme, but I think the idea is a good one, and I'll certainly pass that on to Neil.
Yeah, I think it would be a good consultation tool. You know, it works one way to contact the council, so why shouldn't it work the opposite way to contact the residents?
Well, it would only, in this form, it would only contact the residents who'd signed the petition.
Yeah, and that could be done, sorry Nancy, but that could be done with, you know, if you wanted an ALN consultation, or if you wanted, you know, only young people to answer the question or something.
I think I'll certainly pass it on to Neil, because I know that they are working on this wider participation strategy, which I mentioned earlier, that this petition scheme is only one strand of that participation strategy. So I'll certainly pass that on to Neil, the comments, and you know, see what they can do. So I think I do agree that it would be a good way of able to consult members of the public easily.
Yeah.
So I'll certainly pass it on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Who's next? Colette?
Oh, thank you, Chair. I just wondered, during the lockdown, I'm sure that we would have had electronic petitions then. I just wondered whether there are any lessons that we learnt then that we could perhaps put into practice now to improve the system, or has the system improved our system?
I'm not aware that we had any electronic petitions submitted during lockdown. I know we have got a petition coming to our next council meeting that has come in a little while ago, a few months ago, but not during the lockdown. But when we had council during the lockdown, we just had urgent and immediate decision making. We didn't have member questions. We just did business initially during the first lockdown. Then, as we got more used to having meetings online, we did open up and expand and have questions and petitions. People were able to submit petitions, but we didn't actually receive any. We didn't have any inquiries from people asking to submit a petition. So we just didn't have any reference. I think if people, once this scheme is published, I think, if things were different, people knew that we had an electronic system. We may have had some, but we didn't.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Colette, you're happy with that?
Thank you, yeah.
Norma?
Thank you, Chair. You might think this is a bit silly, but the address. Now, I can remember years ago, there was a petition brought in and people weren't putting their postal code on it. And that's really helpful on times for the officers, when they're looking into something. And it was a noise pollution issue. And there were loads of people living quite a distance away from the noise pollution. Do you know what I mean? And how can I say, the officers were wondering why on earth these people were signing it when they were so far away from the noise pollution. But I mean, sometimes when you do put your address, I know you should put your postal code, but quite often people leave that off. And I think in some cases that could be quite important.
Thank you, Norma. Yeah, as we say, with petitions, as it's been explained, you live in the area. I mean, noise pollution, as you said, they could live 3 miles away. and it doesn't affect them. So sometimes it takes it off the scale with petitions. I mean, I've seen petitions where people have lived in Newport and Cardiff, and people just get them to sign it. Well, it's not relevant to them, and I think this is a good way of proving the relevance of a genuine petition.
Yeah, I think we can make an amendment to the template at the back where we ask for the address. We can put address including postcode. So we could just put that onto the form so that when people are filling them in, they'll be prompted to give us their postcode.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for that, Norma. Thank you. Liz Haynes?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a couple of things, really. I'd be a little bit worried about excluding anybody from outside the postcode area, because very often, in particular with those that that need.
Sorry, Councillor Haynes, you're breaking up a little bit.
Assistance from family members that might not live in the borough, might be. I think actually those that. Is that any better? Is that any better?
Yeah. Can you start again, Liz?
Just that very last.
It just for me is I think we just got to be a bit careful about excluding anybody from outside the borough. There are family members of people that live in the borough that have a vested interest and are also maybe carers or helpers to people that live in the borough. Lots of people that live in other areas, you know, for whatever, could be temporary because of a job that eventually want to come back home, have family members still living here and still care about the community. I just think we need to be very careful about excluding people just on their postcode. The other question that I have is that the e-petition, are people still going to be able to use other e-petitions, sort of, you know, change.org, etc., or is it just the council's own facility for e-petition? And the other thing I'd like to mention is about the information that we obtain from people that sign the e-petition. I'm hoping that that's not saved because of GDPR and data, and that it's not used for any other purpose.
Sorry, I don't know why we have to put the sound is troubling us a bit. No, the information isn't saved. It's used. We hold it for the time of the petition, but if the petition is 6 weeks, after that time it will be deleted. It's just so that we can see that where the people have come from who have signed the petition. And I take your point about people outside the area, and I think if they signed it and gave their full name and address, then we could accept that. It's just people that don't give us any information and we can't verify that they're real people. Like I know we said before, but like people put like Mickey Mouse and then that will count towards the numbers, which is something we don't want. I take your point entirely about people having family or, you know, if they've got a genuine interest in Torfaen and a concern, then we want to hear from them. You know, that's the issue that we want to, if it's
I get that. You get that on whether it's online or whether it's paper copy. You get people that fictitiously sign petitions anyway, and I'm just mindful that we don't want to be seen to be excluding people that have a vested interest or still have their heart in Torfaen. There are many I know that have moved away because of work commitments that still follow all of the Torfaen pages, etc. And I wouldn't and want to move back when that particular job is over. Also, those that, you know, have got people and family members that they come back to every week to help look after. I just think we've got to be careful that we're not seen to be being too restrictive on the e-petition when we don't have that same control over paper copies. it should be the same.
Well, I think from the paper copies going forward, we will also require that information, even though, again, that won't be shared in the public domain. No, but I take your point, and I think people who have got a vested interest or a genuine concern, you know, are welcome to sign. We will be updating this petition scheme once we've run it for a while and we see how it works, because obviously it's the first time we've done it. We don't know what the demand will be or how many people will use them, and these are the snags really that we're going to try and iron out as the petition scheme is operated. Hopefully it will go to council for final approval in June, and it will be loaded onto the website from July. So we then have to wait and see what the demand is and how people use it. But the proviso is in the scheme and also in the app that we can change and update it from time to time as we need to. I covered off the GDPR issue that you mentioned. Was there anything else you asked that I haven't covered off? So.
Yeah, there was, and I can remember it now.
Yeah, Chris just reminded me, using other platforms. Yes, we can accept petitions from other platforms.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for those questions, Liz. I mean, the last thing you said about people out of the area would have a vested interest, and you say people come to care, and the petition could be relevant to that. I mean, with their name and address on there, it is relevant then. At least they're not hiding themselves, and they can put their points forward, and that would be accepted. Yes, thank you very much for those. Recommendations are on page 12. Okay. If I can ask the members now, you're all in agreement with the recommendations? Anyone against? Or anyone abstaining? All agree then? Okay. Okay. Take it as agreed. Thank you very much, member. Okay. Item number 6 then. Item number 6, date and time of the next meeting is on Thursday, the 22nd of September. Thank you everyone for your attendance, and thank you for the new members being here as well. I close the meeting now. Thank you very much.
That's all. Thank you.